Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here. Today I have a really cool video for you. We're going to be talking about the brand new Turtles of Grayskull line. That's right, we're going to be looking at the entire first wave of product. Now, of course, I know I'm a little late to the party on these guys and that other reviewers have looked at them already, but I finally got around to making a way to grab these guys. But let's talk a little bit about what these even are. You can see that we have a total of 5 figures for the initial offering here. We have the mutated He-Man right here. We have Donatello, we have Leonardo, and we have Man-at-Arms and Mousejaw. These 4 are just standard releases, and this is a deluxe that's Target exclusive. So what is this exactly? Well, this is the much talked about crossover between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Masters of the Universe. Of course, Masters of the Universe being the main brand that I collect, but Turtles also representing a huge part of my collection as well. The question then becomes, is this a dream come true? Is it a missed opportunity? How did it all turn out? And there's certainly a lot to talk about because this line looks like it's going to be going on for quite some time. Originally, when I first did the video covering all the different releases that they shown off for this line, I thought that was it. But nope, this line is apparently going to go the distance and it's going to stick around. But there's definitely a few caveats to that, and we'll be talking about that in the video as well. So stick around as we look at the first wave of product for the Turtles of Grayskull line. But before we begin, make sure that you're subscribed and that you've liked the video. These steps really help me out here on the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. With that out of the way, let's begin. So I guess we'll go ahead and look at the packaging for the original 4 standard figures. They've done some really beautiful artwork on all of these. It appears that if the character is good, He-Man and Leonardo will be at the top. And if the character is evil, you'll have Skeletor and Shredder at the top. So I think that really that checks out. It's a really cool idea. I also like that there's a nice little sticker at the bottom letting you know that it's a Masters of the Universe and Ninja Turtles product. So that will definitely get some attention. I do think it's really funny how Nickelodeon or Viacom, whatever you want to say, insists on putting a giant Nickelodeon right over the Turtles brand there. It's a weird thing that they're always doing. It would be as if Mattel wanted to put a giant Mattel symbol right over every time they put Masters, so I think that's kind of funny. I do really like the rocks that are in the background of each figure. Here's a little bit better look at those rocks. You can see, and I really like the green and the purple and blue. I just think it's a really neat way to kind of turtle it up just a little bit. And then the artwork on back of each of the packaging is just fantastic looking. These paintings are truly incredible. We also get this mini comic here. Now, I believe I have the international version, so it doesn't have any of the word bubbles, so you're kind of left to interpret the story from the pictures. But my oh my, the artwork is absolutely incredible. From Freddie Williams, he's done a lot of the Batman and Turtles crossovers, and I just think that it looks spectacular, and it's so much better than the artwork we've been seeing with things like Rock On and even the Eternia playset. That artwork, whoever's doing it, whatever it is, it doesn't really suit my tastes. And of course, this is how the deluxe packaging looks for good old Mousejaw. I might call him Trapjaw at some point, so just look over me. You can see we have kind of custom card back artwork right there. And I like the combination of like the sewer stuff, like the Turtles kind of look. And what's interesting is that he does include Build-A-Figure pieces for Metal Botto. Over here we have some more artwork. On the other side we have even more of Mousejaw. And on the back we have an awesome painting. And I just think that is spectacular looking. A nice little look at Attila that we're going to get later on, but we've not seen just yet. And this shows you all the other parts for Metal Botto, a combination of Metalhead and Roboto, which I'm really looking forward to collecting. And just so you know, with Mousejaw, it does include this cool collector's card. And on the back, it just gives you some statistics about Mousejaw. Let's go ahead and see all these guys out of the packaging. And here we have them, all 5 figures from that first wave of product. The gang is all here. I think all together, they really strike a good look just as a team. I really like the aesthetic. I definitely think that they all do look like they belong to the same line, which, you know, is against all odds for how disparate I think their looks are. I think the thing that really unites these guys are the colorways, that they're all very primary kind of bold colors, very cartoony looking, and I definitely think that that kind of brings these guys together in an otherwise disparate look that usually wouldn't go together. So let's go one by one. And I believe I'll start with what I would consider to be kind of the main hero figure of the line, and that's the Leonardo. I think that their intention with Leonardo, and I think he most clearly kind of represents the whole thesis, the whole idea of the line, is that he's a combination of Leonardo, only with He-Man kind of aesthetics. He definitely has the big bandolier kind of, armor, the chest harness, whatever you want to call it. That's very He-Man-esque. There's a big L on it instead of an H. He has his own version of the loincloth. He has some really cool like turtle padding on the shoulders, and like there's a gauntlet. And he has furry boots, so it doesn't get much better than that. And looking at the head sculpt, I definitely want to give this some special attention because I feel like they have done just a great job of capturing the turtles aesthetic here. And it's something that I was very curious about when these first leaked. They were leaked very early, way before we got an actual look at some of the products. And the product shots we did get eventually were very blurry. But I feel like this is just a great representation. It's funny because it feels like it's a better representation of the classic Turtles aesthetic than like those Playmates Classics figures that came out. The sculpting just seems to be at a higher level and much more authentic to the Turtles. I really like the bandana and how you can swirl it around. And even on the back, we have some cool little touches, like the big fur piece back here that lays over the shell. I think that that's a really cool touch. He does have his shell. It comes right off back there, and you can see that you could actually use the shell as a shield, however weird that may be. Definitely not something that I would probably do often because I'm not sure that I could biologically justify it for the turtles to suddenly remove their shells and be like, hey, look, I have a shield. But it's a really great option, and it doesn't look half bad when you have your turtle posed up with it. Of course, we do have to talk about his power katanas, as I guess I'm going to call them because I'm not sure if there's a better name or an official name. This sword is really big. I have to zoom back a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Really large. I like that they're kind of hooked. And the best part about it, though, is you can see that it pegs in together as one sword very successfully, might I add. Like, it actually stays really solid, and I don't feel like I'm having to press them back together all the time, like those original Origins swords that they had splitting apart. For as cool as these things look split apart like this, the one bad thing is they really don't want to stay in Leonardo's hands because they're so thin, and you kind of just have to let them brace against the side of the hand and hope that you won't breathe wrong and that they'll just like fly out. That's how it looks, but as soon as you pick them up, or whatever, they start kind of getting a little loosey-goosey. You can see that one's working its way down right now. They're not very steady, but it's still pretty nice looking. I plan on keeping them together. I definitely know that you'll want to know what this looks like without a lot of the armor. And the truth is you can take off pretty much all of it except for the boots right here. So let's just get a look at what this guy looks like as a very standard Masters of the Universe Turtles figure. And here's Leonardo without any of his Masters of the Universe armor. It's definitely kind of weird, I think, at first, because the proportions are so funny because, well, they've given him the chest proportions of a Masters of the Universe figure. Although it's kind of neat, he definitely reminds me of the Super Mutant Turtles that Playmates tried, and I always really like that line. So it's kind of fun to see. Of course, he still has furry boots and furry underwear, so that's pretty great. He also has the little bracelets on. And for the back, you get that funny like halfway shell, because keep in mind the only way he could wear the shell was mounted onto the armor that he had. So it's kind of a shame that you can't plug the shell in like this, because I think that would go quite a ways in making him a little more proportional as to what we would expect. But I still think this is really cool, and I think it could be even better if you put on like one of your old harness from one of the old 80s Turtles figures. It would probably fit right on him and give him a little bit more of that classic Turtles look. But still, I like him much better with all the armor on. However, this is cool, and the fun part is you could put on any of the He-Man armor on this guy, and you could certainly take all of Leonardo's armor and put on a standard He-Man figure, which might be pretty fun as well. All right, up next we do have Man-at-Arms. So this is one that I think is interesting and not really one that I expected them to do. Well, I certainly didn't think they would be doing like new costume versions of Masters characters just for the Turtles line, but I think this is a very interesting idea. I would have thought that just Man-at-Arms just would have been in his standard armor in this line, but no, they went the extra mile and gave him some turtley armor, I guess. He's got like the turtle kind of shoulder pad and this little armor here, and then he has a knee pad that's like a turtle shell, and I just think it's a cool look. I think they did a really good job with that. There's some other cool things about it too. They've given him like a utility belt and this thigh armor right here. I think that's neat. And I really like what they did with Man-at-Arms' helmet and his basic chest armor. I think it almost, in the head sculpt, kind of makes him look like some kind of abandoned or canceled Masters of the Universe cartoon design, or something from a comic that they'd never made a figure of before. I really do like that his mace and club, whatever you want to call it, has like a Turtles-like design to it. I think that's pretty cool looking. And what's even more interesting is when we look at Donatello, there's going to be something really cool we can do with this. So I'll wait and show you that when it gets there. I actually think this is neat. I'm not sure if this was the intention or not, but I really do think they've turned Man-at-Arms' helmet into something more Shredder-like. Yes, I know that Shredder is one of the villains, but I do think that that's what they did here. I mean, look at the ridges on the sides. You can't say that's accidental. I think that's what they're going for. I like the Man-at-Arms face right here. I think that looks pretty good, actually. And on the back, I like how they have kind of a goldish orange that goes all the way around. This helmet is not removable. That would have been awesome if it was, but as you can see, it just kind of clips into the actual head itself. So on the back, you can actually see he has that same fur kind of thing going on. And just like Leonardo, he has a turtle shell. And it goes in the same way, so I'm sure you could put Leonardo's shell back there if you wanted to. And you can use this as a shield. Now, to me, this makes a heck of a lot more sense with Man-at-Arms than it does Leonardo, because of course Man-at-Arms could use it as a shield because it's not part of his body. So I really do think that looks cool. It's certainly a great way to display the figure. As for articulation, it's the same thing we always see with Origins, because these figures pretty much are Masters of the Universe Origins figures, just under a new subline. He moves pretty well. I think over here we have a little bit of issue with the shoulder, but it does flex out of the way enough to where it's not that bad. Down here, the thigh guards don't really get in the way too much. Masters figures for Origins don't really go out too much this way anyhow, but just thought I would put that out there. Everything else is exactly the same that you would expect from an Origins figure. All right, next we have Mutant HeMan, or as he's just called on the back of the packaging, just HeMan. This was the figure I was the most skeptical about that they included in this collection. I wasn't really sure why we needed it. At first, I was kind of actually a little disappointed that it wasn't just another He-Man, but when I finally got him in hand, I could see why that they wanted to do something special and not just another He-Man. We have a billion He-Mans in this line already. Why not do something interesting? And certainly they did. When this was originally shown, I thought that there was something that wasn't really popping about the colors, but in hand, which is kind of hard for it to show up on camera, I definitely like that it's a little more opaque and not so transparent. Originally, I thought that this was going to be some kind of dark, transparent purple. Some of the pictures made it look like that. But no, it's a little more opaque and a little brighter than I thought it would be. And that coupled with the, neon, greenish, yellowish kind of hair, he definitely looks like a 90s mutant. I really do like the chest harness. I like these big spikes that are coming out. And they even gave him like a bandana with a posable, tie in the back. So I really do like what they did. I like that his foot is exploding out of the furry boots. I think that all of this is really fun. The big spiked bracelets that he has, this is pretty cool. He even has what appears to be Super Shredder's mace or something similar anyway from like the old Playmates Turtles line. So this ended up, I think, being a lot more fun than I originally thought it would be. I especially like how gigantic it looks like his arms are. And this is just, as bulky as you can get on one of these figures. So I think this is really fun, and certainly in a lore sense gives the Turtles a reason and the Masters a reason that they all have to team up because He-Man is out of commission. So he's this kind of big, mutant brute that's causing trouble. I really do think that the veins that they painted on really add a little something to this as well. So I think this ended up being a really good idea that could have failed horribly in execution, but it ended up actually turning out really nice. And there's the back. I think it's disappointing that there's no weapon storage or holes on the back for any of those turtle shells or anything. I think that's the one bad thing about it. Other than that, he's really solid. I could unfortunately see this being like the peg warmer if these guys ever make it to retail, which I'll talk about here in a little while. I think he looks good though. And to round out those regular figures, or the standard 4 figures, we have Donatello. Now, I actually like Donatello's head sculpt even more than Leonardo's. They really did just a great job here. It's definitely done in the same style, but I just think it looks fantastic. I especially like that they've kind of combined him with Man-at-Arms a little bit. He has the same kind of armor with the face guard right there, and like the little cylinder, like the tube that would be on Man-at-Arms armor. I like that they've given him similar padding like Leonardo had, and I really like his little shin guards down here as well. The purple looks really nice. It's kind of metallic-y, kind of like the blue was slightly metallic-y on Leonardo. The helmet looks really cool as well. But the one thing I'm going to complain about, and I was certainly disappointed by this, is that this helmet isn't removable at all. This head is, built with, I think the mask and helmet are one piece and the green part is another piece, and they're just plugged in. I really wish that they would have had that helmet be removable, because I think that that makes him the only turtle we've seen out of the 3 they've shown so far to where you can't just get a regular turtle's head sculpt out of it. So I think that was a big missed opportunity. Hopefully they'll correct that at some point and have a different version of Donatello. Just like Leonardo, he does have his turtle shell back here, and you can unplug it and he can use it as a shield. But since you've already seen Leonardo without all the armor, I think you get the idea for Donatello. Now, interestingly, and I don't have Leonardo's armor back on yet, but you can see that they've done what I always like to see them doing, which is to do a completely different shade of green for each of the turtles. And I feel like that helps vary them up quite a bit. Now, getting to his weapon here, this is where something cool can happen. I like how it's almost as if Man-at-Arms and Donatello have worked completely together in this line. And at first, I just thought they came with a repeat of the same accessory, but no. You can see Donatello's is longer, and here's the cool trick. You can actually take Man-at-Arms mace, or club, or whatever you want to say, and it actually has the ability to key in right here, and boom, now you've got a massive bow staff. It's a build-a-weapon. Duncan's back there. He is so proud. I think he's considering adopting Donatello. Look at that. It's really cool. I actually didn't know that it did this till I got them in hand and was just kind of looking at it. But I think you could do some incredible displays with this thing, or reenact your favorite episodes of American Gladiators. So, and last of the bunch, we have our deluxe figure, Mousejaw. Now, I think it's kind of funny that they changed his name to Mousejaw versus just calling him Trapjaw. I think everybody would have gotten the idea. They just, it would have been like calling Man-at-Arms Turtle-at-Arms or something, So I do think it's a little silly, the name change, because surely he's still Cronus here under all of this armor. But I do think that this is a great concept. This is the last thing in the world I thought that they would have done when it comes to combining characters, because I've always loved the Mousers or Mousers, however you want to say it. Always been one of my favorite things in the Turtles lore. Ever since I played Hyperstone Heist with my brother Josh. There's so many cool things you can do with this figure, so let's pop right into it. Now, first off, it's worth noting that in concept, at least, it's very similar to what we've seen with Trapjaw before. There's certainly, some reuse here using some of the standard parts that we've seen on Trapjaw. But there's certainly a whole lot of new things, and I do think a comparison is warranted. Here is Origins Trapjaw. Probably less reuse than you would actually think there is. For one thing, good old standard Trapjaw back here certainly seems to be a little smaller, and it may just be the way that I have the legs posed or something, but there's maybe something about the legs that boost him a little bit, so he certainly seems a little bit smaller. The head sculpts are sort of related in some ways, but this is completely new. I guess there's kind of a similar way that they painted the eyes, but honestly, This is very much its own thing. Looking at the chests, I mean, I guess you could just say that there's a reuse of the chest, but here they opt for just giving him the standard shoulder, which is funny to me because they have the specialized version over here for Trapjaw. So I kind of think that's a missed opportunity. I'm not really sure why they wouldn't just give him the Trapjaw shoulder. So it's kind of funny to me about that. As you can see, the belt, completely different. This one has a turtle shell on it. And, down here we do see some of the reuse at work. We can definitely see that a lot of the legs are the same, but the feet are actually completely different. And if you look, these are made to look like Mauser feet, which I think is really cool. And the arm over here, as well as the chest harness, has been completely rebuilt for this particular figure. Again, I think it's really funny that they didn't use the Trapjaw arm at all, and they just did the standard Master's arm. I have no idea what that's about. It seems kind of weird to me. It's also funny that they decided to go with this much more vivid blue rather than the light blue that he usually has, but that must have just been a design thing, and it certainly does help him stand out and gives him a lot more contrast. Of course, it'll be fun to eventually switch out some of these parts with these guys. So let's get into some of the things you can switch out with Trapjaw here. You can get this really cool flame effect, which you can then, of course, use with your other Origins figures on some of those same kind of ports, like for Trapjaw and other characters. So I really do like this flame effect. It's transparent, looks really nice. Beyond that, though, we have some of the more expected Trapjaw hand attachments. For the robot arm, you have his trusty old axe right here, so I think that's cool looking, and I like this blue that they cast it in. Of course, you have his clamp right here, so that's pretty cool looking. And then when all else fails, it's a gun. Guns, guns, guns. Beyond that, though, probably one of the more interesting things you can do with this guy is integrate him with the actual Mauser that he comes with. Now, this thing is a figure in its own right. It almost causes it to feel like an extra little bonus thing that you get. And so I'll just show you the articulation on this guy. The head can go up a little bit and down a little bit. So there's certainly some articulation right there, but you are limited in what you can do. You can extend the neck out like this and put it back in. You can open the mouth, and that's pretty neat as well. You can also turn it like this, and you can get kind of a gun, so that'll come into play a little bit later. Down here, we do get articulation at the ankles. You just get an up and down hinge. There isn't any articulation here, which is kind of a shame, but you can actually pop these off. So I'll take the legs and put them over to the side, and that leaves this main body. We'll put the head back to where you can see the gun, and you can see there's a little connector point. All you have to do is pop this on right here, and all of a sudden he has a Mauser weapon attachment. And you can take the legs, and for whatever reason, you can pop them onto the sides of his belt. And it's the mashup you never knew you wanted right here, Mouse Jaw. I do think this looks really cool, especially once he has his big cannon. You can kind of turn this and turn it this way if you want to, so you have some options. I think that's really nice. Even though these don't serve a whole lot of a practical purpose hanging off the side of his belt, I do think they look really fun and kind of help complete the idea that he's supposed to be a fusion of these two visual concepts. Overall, I think he's really cool looking. I certainly like that you can still flex that mouth open and closed and all of that, so you can get some different looks. I like to have it slightly open. I just think that's a little bit neater. And I can't wait until we hopefully get the King Grayskull Splinter mashup that they've been showing on the back of some of the packaging, because I think it would be really cool to see those two guys go against each other. So I'm very impressed by this. But let's talk about pricing for a second. This guy was $25. I think that's fine. I don't hate that price or anything. But we also need to acknowledge that these guys have gone up to like $20. Back in the day, Origins figures would have been $15. I think they started out maybe a little lower than that, maybe $12 or something. So it's been a lot of rapid fire price increasing over the last few years. Like I said, don't hate that this guy is $25 or anything like that. Don't think it's horrible, but they're definitely pushing what you get, I think, for your $25. Of course, we'll talk very briefly about what he comes with in terms of a Build-A-Figure part. This is for the Metal Botto figure. Certainly, we've not hardly seen all of this guy yet, but I can already see that I like what they've done in terms of the sculpting. It does appear to be completely brand new sculpting, which is always really nice. I like the little metal turtle hand right there. And he also comes with this alternative attachment right here, kind of like a blaster, I guess, to where you can use different effects pieces that came with Trapjaw. So if you wanted to, you can actually add in that flame attachment right there, and voila, looks really cool. Of course, while you're waiting on metal Botto pieces to come out in the line, you can, of course, switch this out with any of the other characters in the line, that any of the other male characters, that is. So I think that's a cool option as well. And you even have this little part, which appears to be modular for any of the other connections. So if you want to use a piece from Mouse Jaw like this, it looks really cool, I think. And you can certainly get some epic battles with these guys. All right, and here they all are back together, posed up, all 5 from that first wave of product. Certainly, I have a few questions about this line now that this first wave has been out for a couple of months. These started to trickle out right around the beginning of January. But the real question that I have isn't so much about the direction of the line or the quality of the figures or the artistic intent here, because I think all of those things are solid. My question is, where are these? Now, you may be saying, well, Jared, they're on Big Bad Toy Store. I can order them on Amazon. But where are they in brick and mortar stores? I mean, sure, Mousejaw back here has a singular peg at Target. I don't really know what's going on in terms of in-store distribution for these guys. I'll tell you, Playmates is a really, really finicky company when it comes to competing product about Ninja Turtles. And part of me has to wonder if the initial understanding with Mattel was that these could be sold side by side, you know, in the action figure aisle, but maybe Playmates was like, no, we don't want them in the figure aisle with our Turtles products because, you know, maybe this will be a competing kind of brand. So I just don't know what's going on. I mean, here we are, it's pretty much March, and these still aren't at Walmart. You know, they're not widely at Target for the standard figures. So I'm not really sure what's going on. I thought that this would be an experience where I would just buy these in a regular store, but kind of sad that I had to end up going the online route. Hopefully that'll be corrected, and maybe this will just be an archaic part of this video. When you look back sometime, these will be all over the place. Still is very strange. I would really like to see these more available to more collectors. This is the kind of thing, though, that isn't just strictly appealing to collectors. I pretty much think any kid would be absolutely crazy over these if they saw them in stores. I think it'll help introduce a whole lot of kids to Masters of the Universe because, you know, there's a lot more kids that are Turtles fans these days than Masters fans. And I think that it could introduce some kids who are Masters fans to the Turtles. Not that that is very likely, but hey, it could happen. And certainly, I think that this is, for a collector like me, a dream come true, because it's great to see 2 of my favorite brands mashed together in a really cool and inventive toy line, and something that I really didn't expect to happen in this form. Either way, though, I certainly hope that you've enjoyed this review and found it informative. Remember, you can find these guys on Amazon at the link below, or Big Bad Toy Store, or any of those other things, you know, so if you want to click my affiliate link, that'll really help. And hopefully you guys will enjoy these. The basic figures are $20 a piece. Mousejaw, I think, is right around $25. So be sure to grab these guys because I do highly suggest them, and I think this is the start of a very, very fun line. Alright guys, make sure that you subscribe, like the video if you can, because that really helps. And of course, as always, I will see you here on Fanboys Forever. Take care. God bless.